Hello ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? It's your boy MegaLugia here, aka The Chosen One. Today my friends, I am bringing you guys a brand new video on the channel. As you can tell by the title, none other than Pokemon Team Spotlight. Now you may be wondering, what is this all about? Well, let me tell you. This is going to be a series where I break down a team for you guys in depth, and I'm talking about really in depth. I'm talking about the stats, the nature, the ability, the movesets, the team options, why we chose what we chose, the games played by each team member, their kills, their deaths, the pros, the cons, in-game footage as well from our battles, just a whole bunch of stuff. And mainly it's going to be covering VGC teams, because I felt like the singles metagame, it's a lot easier to make a a team analysis and a team builder. It doesn't take as much depth because you see the 6 monster you're using, and then you just kind of go from there and figure out what you need to do, but for VGC it's a lot more complicated. Team synergy definitely matters a whole bunch more, so that's why I felt like I would bring you guys the first VGC team today. We're going to be using a rain team, and we'll get more into that later, but I will be covering some singles, some Smogon teams as well, mainly gonna be VGC, and gonna be bringing VGC a lot to the channel, as well as be bringing some VGC guides. And I've said VGC a bunch of times, so if you guys like the sound of that, a like would be much appreciated, and a subscription if you are new as well, feel free to do so. But without further ado, my friends, I think that's everything we need to get out of the way. Also, I do want to say this series is going to be a lot more personal, you could say, where I'm a lot more one-on-one with you guys, just basically giving you my thoughts on the team, what worked, what didn't, and all that Gucci good stuff. So with all that out the way, I guess let's get into the first VGC team spotlight, the Rain team. Now I also do want to say, before we get into this team, well, the original team concept was kind of displayed by my main man Nips. If you don't know who Nips is, his link will be in the description down below. I'm sure you know who he is, but if you don't, it will be down there. I also don't know why I called him my main man, because I don't really know him, but that's not the point. He displayed a VGC Rain team, and I saw that, I was like, I really like the sound of this team and the way it works. So I looked at it, made a few tweaks of my own, definitely put my own spin on it, and changed a few things. Like I said, change a few couple mons around, so it's not directly a replica of his team, but it definitely was inspired by him. So like I said, before anyone gets their knickers in a twist, his link to the team will be in the description down below. But yeah, now we can finally move on to the team. So starting off from the top, you can see the first member on this team is going to be PELIPPER, the big boy that he is. And I'm gonna be, like I said, I'm gonna be explaining you guys the each Pokemon in depth and covering their weaknesses, everything that worked, everything that didn't, as well as you guys will be seeing some in-game footage of the battles while I talk over this, showcasing and highlighting the facts that I'm talking about. So like I said, none other, the first team member is PELIPPER, going with an HP spread, EV spread of 252 HP, 236 defense, and 20 speed. Drizzle as the ability, Bold Nature, holding the Damp Rock. Now the moves are Scald, Hurricane, Protect, and Roost or Wide Guard. I'll get more into that later, but as well as the EV spread, I do want to say we will have a section later on where we talk about more in depth about the damage calcs and what you can live, what you can't, what you KO, what you don't, and all that good stuff. So if you guys want to see that, that will be covered on later in the video. So you also see GP, KO, and DE. So what that stands for is 24 games played. I played a total of 25 games, give or take a few games with this team, and as best as I could accurately count these statistics, PELIPPER got 7 kills and it died 19 times. So you may be saying that is absolute booty, this Pokemon is useless. Well, let me tell you, you're 50% right but 50% wrong. So the deaths, well, yeah, the deaths of this Pokemon don't really matter, because its main job, let me start off with, is getting up the rain. Rain in this VGC metagame seems to be, in my opinion, the most reliable, because what we have sand, we have sun, and we have hail. Hail is mainly reserved for Pokemon like a little Ninetales and Sandslash. Sand is Gigalith typically, and sun is the Torkoal combination with Oranguru and stuff. And the reason why I really like PELIPPER is because PELIPPER beats a lot of those weather setters 1v1. By that I mean, when it comes to weather setting, you want to be the slowest, in my opinion, because say you start off with PELIPPER, as many examples in the, I'm sure the footage you guys will see, PELIPPER started off versus Ninetales. Ninetales immediately got up that hail, but then we wanted the rain obviously on our side, but since PELIPPER is slower, the slower Pokemon gets up their weather next, and that is very important, which is why I don't really like Ninetales. When it comes down to Torkoal, again, you are slower, you are faster than Torkoal, so the sun will go up after you, but you are super effective versus Torkoal, so that's not really too much of a problem. As well as when it comes to Gigalith is slower than you, so the sand does come up, but again, you are super effective versus Gigalith. So that is why I really like Pelipper as a weather setter. And as for the kills, like I said, 7 kills, you know, nothing too much to brag about, but like I said, this is a wall. Its main job is to get up the rain, just recover, and just, you know, stall out some other potential Pokemon as well. So 7 kills, not gonna lie. And don't be sleeping on Scald and Hurricane in the rain. They definitely do some damage. As for the EV spread, 20 speed is just to make sure anything that wants to speed creep us, we just invest a little bit in speed, and the rest is into defense to handle Pokemon like Alola Marowak, like Pheromosa, like Gyarados, like Metagross, a lot of the physical attackers that we have in the tier. Now for the moveset, you see Scald and Hurricane, pretty self-explanatory. Scald, just you need it in the rain, boosted, can pick up some crucial KOs that you might not think about. Hurricane is there, again 100% accurate in the rain, coming off Pelipper, and those confusions, let me tell you, I got confusions more times than I got Scald burns, and that's saying something. So Hurricane is definitely a very nice last ditch effort in case you need to have it. And you know, as well, it handles Pokemon like Gyarados who resist your Scald, Tapu Bulu who resist your Scald, and a lot of other water types as well. So Scald and Hurricane, very nice coverage. Now you see Protect there. Protect, I believe, is very crucial for Pokemon. Some people opt not to run Protect, maybe run Tailwind in that slot, or you know, they can have Roost and Wide Guard, but I feel like Protect is just very necessary, especially with all the electric types running around. TAPUKOKO, I mean, TAPUKOKO is the main electric type, but that thing is such a threat that it is one that needs to be mentioned. So that's why I felt like Protect was very crucial, excuse me. And the last move slot, you see Roost and Wide Guard. Now, I initially started with Roost on this Pokemon, just Roost, and I felt probably about half of the games in, that Roost wasn't getting clicked very much. I felt like Pelipper is slow. You don't really have much opportunity to click Roost, and if you do, it's kind of, you could have gone for something more useful. Let's say, for example, in this case with Wide Guard, a lot of spread moves. I repeat that 3 times. Spread moves are very common. I'm talking about Earthquake, Rock Slide, Sludge Wave, Discharge, just a whole bunch of you know, Heat Wave as well from Torkoal, although Pelipper resists it. A bunch of spread moves, and I felt like Wide Guard was a very good option. Now it worked really good early on in the meta, because I guess people didn't know that Pelipper got Wide Guard, or it's just those, you know, those early meta syndromes where people don't expect moves. But now that people know Pelipper has Wide Guard, it is a lot more expected, but still it's nothing to, you know, you do have to consider what moves you're going for. For example, facing a TAPUKOKO with Discharge, they expect, oh, I can just freely go for Discharge, he doesn't have anything in the back, or whatever it is. You click Wide Guard, you essentially shut down a lot of teams, especially in combination with Garchomp, because Garchomp either goes for Earthquake or Rock Slide a lot of the time, both spread moves. Click Wide Guard, and that thing is definitely hindered, because Dragon Claw, not gonna do too much to Pelipper, no way, not gonna do too much, especially with all the bulk that we have. So that's why I felt like Wide Guard is a lot better of an option than Roost. But if you do want to go for Roost, and you feel like maybe you have another team member you could swap out later on and slap Wide Guard on, feel free to. But I just, like I said, Roost doesn't come in too useful, because you are slow. What are you gonna, the main Pokemon that you can get Roost off, for example, are versus like Gastrodon or Alola Marowak, yeah, so I guess Alola Marowak, Gastrodon, a lot of the slower Pokemon, minimally speed invested Celesteela or Gigalith, stuff like that. But you're much better off going for Scalds on those Pokemon, not in the case of Gastrodon, but you're much better going off for damage options versus those Pokemon and getting them the hell out of there, other than Roost. But if they want to go for Protect, then that's where Roost really comes into play. But it's kind of a 50-50, definitely depending on your preference, but that is just my opinion, so you can go with what you want to go with. You also see the item, which I did not talk about, is the Damp Rock, basically giving you 8 turns of rain instead of 5. I see a lot of people liking to run Leftovers, or even Citrus Berry, or even Focus Sash. If you know, obviously you know who Cybertron is. He likes to go for Focus Sash and slap on Tailwind with his Pelipper. I felt like, especially with this team, Tailwind didn't really suit it because we are Rain, and we do have some Swift Swim Pokemon coming up, spoilers, and Tailwind doesn't really, I mean, in certain situations I could have seen it working, but I just felt like these moves are very necessary. And Damp Rock, in my opinion, especially when you leave out Pelipper for a long time and it doesn't die and it just stays out there, you want to be able to keep that Rain up for as long as possible without having to switch out and then come back in, because Pelipper does have access to U-turn, but we're not running that because I don't feel it's very beneficiary. So that's why I felt the Damp Rock was good. But if you want to slap on Leftovers or even you know, Focus Sash, but it's a bulky mon, so I usually like to reserve Focus Sashes for really frail mons. But if it's bulky, if you do want to go for a Focus Sash, then I guess you could change the spread to maybe something like Max Speed, Max Special Attack, you know, just to take advantage of the Focus Sash. But hey, so that is basically the first member on our team. I hope this broke it down for you guys and you understand what I'm talking about. If you guys have any questions, by the way, below, let me know, because this is the first time I'm doing one of these VGC team breakdowns. But yeah, let's move on to the second team member. Alright, so moving on to the next team member, you see my boy TAPUKOKO here. Basically, let's break down this EV spread pretty simple. Max Speed, Max Special Attack, Timid Nature with the Electric Surge with the moves Thunder, Dazzling Gleam, Taunt, and Protect. With the statistics there, as you can see, 20 games played, 16 kills and 13 deaths, so that is looking pretty fine if I do say so myself. Now TAPUKOKO is definitely one of the main offensive threats on this team, and you know this, TAPUKOKO is such a staple in the VGC metagame, at least right now. I don't know when you guys are going to be watching this video, but TAPUKOKO, like I said, very good mon. So 20 games played, it got a lot of kills, as you'll be seeing in the footage right now. It did gain a few amount of deaths as well, but that's to be expected with all the ground types turning around. It's pretty frail as well, but it can live some certain hits that you do not expect. For example, it can live a poison jab from a Garchomp at full health. That is something to note. But I do want to say, you do see the Elekid in the middle of that little box right there. Now the item that we were holding was the magnet, and I searched all around the interwebs and could not find an image of a Pokemon magnet anywhere, so I stuck a little bit of an Elekid. But just to clarify, we were holding the magnet. Alright, the magnet there 3 times. People don't need to ask in the comment section anymore. But moving on to the moves is where it gets a little bit controversial. So you see Thunder, Dazzling Gleam, Taunt, and Protect. Thunder, obviously very risky move if you don't have the Rain Up. If you do have the Rain Up, it is 100% accurate and everything is absolutely getting nuked. Next move is Dazzling Gleam. You need that to handle ground types like Garchomp, like Gastrodon, like what's it called, Mudsdale, if it ever does appear, which it kind of did. And it is a spread move, of course, and Protect, again, for obvious reasons. And the last move is Taunt. Now I really wanted a fast taunter on this team and I couldn't really fit on anything else, which is why I have Taunt over something like Thunderbolt or U-turn or even Grass Knot, right? So Taunt I feel is a very important move in this metagame, because Trick Room, Porygon, Instruct, Oranguru, all those status Pokemon, not even status, just non-attacking moves are very hard to deal with if you don't have a way to work around them. And I felt like a fast taunter early game versus Porygon, crucial, essential, stops that Trick Room from the beginning. And usually one of the other Pokemon, like you pair up Porygon with Torkoal or Porygon with Gyarados, anything like that, not Gyarados, but like another slow Pokemon, they go for that other mon goes for Protect, whilst Porygon goes for Trick Room, because it knows nothing's gonna one-hit KO. So that's why you go for Taunt. And if it doesn't want to go for Trick Room, it goes, for example, Ice Beam or Thunderbolt or Shadow Ball, anything. You are definitely not one-hit KO'd, and you can definitely get that Taunt off before it gets you back. So that's why I felt like Taunt was very crucial. Again, like I said, Grass Knot is a good move to handle Pokemon like Mudsdale, like Gastrodon, who definitely eat up your hits for days. But you know, one Pokemon is not meant to solve every problem, and that's why I feel like this moveset was pretty good. The only thing that I would switch out is maybe switch out Thunder for Thunderbolt. That is definitely a preference up to you, but 70% of the time you're going to be hitting that Thunder, right? So I feel like Thunder was just, the damage output was too good, especially because we're not holding a Life Orb. We are only holding a Magnet, which only boosts the power of electric type moves. I felt like Thunder was a very good option. And definitely, you know, you are meant to have the Rain Up with this team, especially with Pelipper holding the Damp Rock. 8 turns, you switch it out, you bring it back in, whatever you need to. That is TAPUKOKO. So there's not really much else to say about this Pokemon. It does have its checks and counters, obviously being Garchomp, who is 2-hit KO'd by Dazzling Gleam, you are OHKO'd by Earthquake, Gastrodon, who is usually 3-hit KO'd by Dazzling Gleam, and normally OHKOs you back with Earthquake, depending on its spread. And I mean, there's the other few Pokemon as well that I can think of, like Faster, Revenge Killer, Scarfers, and it really struggles with opposing Tapukokos. Tapukoko Mirror Masters are definitely something that you need to consider, which I will be covering later on in the pros and cons section of the team. But that is Tapukoko, pretty self-explanatory, hits really hard, and it is up to you if you want to switch out Thunder for Thunderbolt. Okay, so now moving on to the next member of the team, we have the hard hitter himself, POLIWRATH, with an adamant nature, of course the Swift Swim ability to abuse the rain that we were talking about earlier on, 4 HP, max attack, max speed, with the moveset of Waterfall, Poison Jab, Low Sweep, or Power Up Punch and Protect, and the statistics read 19 game played, 16 kills, and 14 deaths. So as you can see, this thing is a very hard hitter. In only 19 games, it's picking up 16 kills as well as dying 14 times, but it's not really that important because it's meant to just take out the threats that the rest of your team can't handle, and then it's probably gonna die because, let's be real, it's not that bulky, but it can live some hits. For example, you will be seeing them later on the damage calcs, but just to mention a few, you can live a Moonblast from a Ninetales at max HP, so that is something to consider, especially when you come into those weather wars, you know, like I mentioned before with hail and rain. And the choice for the nature, Adamant Nature is, in my opinion, a lot better than Jolly. With Jolly, you basically outspeed a lot of Scarfers as well, but Adamant just picks up so many KOs, and you need this thing to hit as hard as possible because that's what it's meant to do. Swift Swim already gives you that speed, and with a Adamant Nature and max speed, you do outspeed max speed base 100s that are scarfed. So that is important to know. Scarfed base 100s, not just regular base 100s, because obviously you outspeed them, but scarfed. So you're not going to outspeed a Scarf Tapukoko, for example. You do outspeed Pokemon like Scarf Tapu Lele, and who is very difficult to handle as well, but you do miss out on for example, on Scarf Garchomp, but it's not going to one-hit KO you, and you are definitely, especially with the rain up, going to do a whole bunch of damage back. Now, unfortunately, POLIWRATH does learn Ice Punch, but is not available in pre-bank, aka, you know, the meta that we're playing right now. It's only obtainable in previous generations. Otherwise, I would have had Ice Punch, but you don't have that, so you cannot pick up one-hit KOs on Garchomp, which Ice Punch usually would. Waterfall with the Life Orb in the rain, as well as the chance to flinch, is it's a very nice backup option to have. Now, moving on to the moves, Poison Jab is there specifically for fairies. I'm talking about Tapu Lele, Tapu Lele is going to take a lot of damage from Waterfall as it is, but I'm talking about Tapu Fini, who otherwise walls you, Tapu Bulu, who otherwise walls you, and Tapu Bulu is usually one-hit KO'd by a Poison Jab unless they have, I believe, max HP and max defense, so that's very good to have. And the third move is either Low Sweep or Power Up Punch. Now, earlier on, I did have Earthquake here, but I felt like that wasn't a very good option, which is why I didn't include it in the final design, you could say. But Earthquake, not that good, especially when you do have 2 ground types on the team coming up later on, and it was mainly there for Pokemon like Tapu Koko, but Waterfall does a lot of damage since it's not spread. And in case you have a Storm Drain Pokemon on the other side of the field, but really Earthquake isn't going to do too much to them, which is why I have Low Sweep or Power Punch. Now, unfortunately, POLIWRATH doesn't get any super powerful fighting type move. I think the best one it gets is Cross Chop, which isn't 100% accurate, as well as having recoil damage, so kinda, you know, got the short end of the stick there, which is why we have Low Sweep. Low Sweep is 60 base power and reduces the speed of the opposing Pokemon by 1, so that is something to consider in case they are scarfed and faster than you, or you need something later on to come in once POLIWRATH dies and pick up a kill. For example, you have the Tapu Koko on your team, and if they have a Alolan Raichu who has the Electric Surge up, or if they have like a Pheromosa, you go for the Low Sweep, get them down, and then something else can come in, and you know, that's just some situations, but didn't come up too much. And Power Punch is there again, fighting type move, 40 base power, and it deals damage whilst boosting your attack up by +1. Now, this move is second on the move slots because you're not going to be sticking around as long as you may think with POLIWRATH. It's there to just get some kills, and it's probably going to go down pretty quick after that. So Power Punch isn't too good in terms of longevity reasons, but It's pretty good, just in case you feel like low sweep isn't going to give you much of an advantage, because it is only 20 base power higher, and that -1 speed may not be as crucial as you may want it to be. So that's why you go for Power Punch. And last move, Protect, of course, very crucial, especially with the mind games going on right now, whether your Pokemon's going to target one thing or another. A lot of situations that I was in is a lot of people didn't expect POLIWRATH to have Protect. I guess they expected it to be all-out offensive, so they usually targeted it down. I'm talking about your TAPUKOKOs, your Metagrosses, your Tapu Leles, your Tapu Bulus. Go for Protect, and they usually see POLIWRATH as a threat. That's also another reason, because they're like, alright, example, if you have PELIPPER and POLIWRATH in at the same time, they're going to be like, alright, POLIWRATH is the main threat, so they're going to target that thing down. Protect allows your PELIPPER to get off a Scald or a Confusion to further help POLIWRATH later on. What I mean by that is, if a physical attacker gets burnt, like a Garchomp, it's not going to do as much damage to you. If another Pokemon gets confused by Hurricane, you know, just those kind of certain situations. So Protect is very crucial. I don't think you can give up Protect on POLIWRATH, even though you are trying to take advantage of the Swift Swim and you don't want to be wasting those turns of Rain. Protect, very crucial. So that is basically the moveset of POLIWRATH, and I really like this Pokemon. I know a lot of people like to go with Golduck for the Swift Swim Abuser. It does have, I believe, the same special attack stat as POLIWRATH's attack, and you know, you can hit harder with Hydro Pump, which POLIWRATH's only hardest hitting water type move is Waterfall. But I just felt like POLIWRATH is a lot better because there's a lot of more specially defensive Pokemon out there right now, like Celesteela, like Tapu Fini, and just physically, and even Magnezone to an extent as well. So that's why I felt like POLIWRATH is better abuser of the rain, and the stats pretty much do say it. Now the deaths, like I said, don't worry about that, just look at the kills, and they're looking pretty good, pretty Gucci, good to go. So that is POLIWRATH, and yeah, let's move on to the next Pokemon. And the next member of the team is going to be Gastrodon, with a relaxed nature, holding the leftovers with the ability Storm Drain, EV spread of max HP, 136 defense, and 124 in special defense, with the moves of Scald, Earthquake, Toxic, and Recover. The statistics, of course, 21 games played, 6 knockouts, and 16 deaths. So this Pokemon, where do I begin with this Pokemon? Now let me first say that the EV spread will be covered later on in the video, like I keep mentioning. Pretty calculated. You can live some crucial hits, but I can't really remember all the top of them off. I mean, I can't really remember all of them off the top of my head right now, but we will look at them later. Leftovers just for residual recovery, which I feel is the best item for Gastrodon. Relaxed nature to reduce your speed and not reduce any of your attacks because you are mixed. Scald and Earthquake. Toxic there for other Gastrodons who you otherwise can't really touch without Earthquake, as well as for these bulky mons like Oranguru, Porygon, and well, not really Marowak, so yeah, mostly Porygon and Oranguru. And Recover is there because you need Gastrodon to stick around as long as possible. So in the combination with Leftovers and Recover, you're going to be around for a long time. Now you do see no Protect on this mon, and this is one of the mons that I feel like if somehow it could have 5 moves, it would take a lot of advantage of that, because you need all of those moves. If you don't have Earthquake, then you are not really doing too much damage to other electric types like TAPUKOKO, who sometimes run Grass Knot. Scald's not going to do too much. Earthquake is also good. It's a really nice spread option to handle mons like, you know, Torkoal if the sun was up, Alola Marowak if the sun was up, and it's just a really good spread move that you need in certain situations, not being able to target one thing down. And Toxic is there because if you don't have Toxic, then Porygon is gonna wall you for days. You will probably see the footage of it going up right now, where I had to stall out a Porygon for 10 turns in combination with the Tapu Koko, who almost beat me because he freezed me, but he didn't, and I wouldn't have won without the Toxic. So that's why I feel like Toxic is very important in Recover. Like I said, you just need it to be able to get your HP back up, because you are pretty bulky, and even though you are slow as piss and you're gonna be going last, you can live a lot of hits, and Recover is there just to keep you around as long as possible. The stats, like I said, came to a lot of the games, and you know, picked up a few knockouts, nothing too good, nothing too impressive. 16 deaths because I usually led off with this thing, so it's usually the Pokemon that comes out first, because like I said, very many electric types like to lead. Tapu Koko lead, so you lead off with Gastrodon. They cannot get those electric type moves off, as well as water type moves, Storm Drain, which I will get on to later, and that's why it died a lot, because it let off, it died, it got the damage or the chip damage or even the knockouts that it needed, and then I brought something else in, so obviously it was the first to die. Now moving on to the ability Storm Drain, this, let me tell you, gave me a lot of problems, because I didn't know at the beginning that Storm Drain actually absorbs water type moves from your side of the field. If you don't know, Storm Drain makes it so that all water type moves on the field are essentially useless because Gastrodon, soaks them up or whatever. So you can't use a water type move while Gastrodon is in the field. And I only thought that was from your opponent's side. Like they couldn't target me down with the water type move. But oh no, let me tell you, my POLIWRATH went for Waterfall so many times with Gastrodon on my side of the field, and I'm like, what just happened? Did I just misclick? Did I target? But no, Gastrodon just soaks up those water type moves. So do keep that in mind, and I definitely found myself forgetting that. Even though I knew it was gonna happen, I forgot. So that is something that you need to consider, and it's a little bit of a hindrance sometimes. But if you have like a POLIWRATH or a PELIPPER on your side of the field and you want to go for a water type move, but again, it does come in clutch more times than it hinders you. For example, Gyarados can't really touch you, TAPUKOKO can't touch you, other Gastrodons can't touch you, all water type Pokemon cannot touch you. So that's why I felt like it's very important, and not much to say other than Gastrodon, just very bulky one. Can handle mons like Celesteela, but they are tending to run either Giga Drain or Seed Bomb right now, so you do have to watch out for that. TAPUKOKO's Grass Knot is definitely not OHKOing you, and you do a bunch of damage back. You can deal damage to Pokemon like a little Marowak, Porygon, Toxic, just a bunch of threats that Gastrodon is really good to handle in the meta right now, especially Garchomp as well, because I believe the Earthquake is a 4-hit KO, so that is something you need to keep in mind. But that is Gastrodon. Watch out for that Storm Drain. That's all I gotta say, but let's move on to the next mon. Alright, so now moving on to the 5th member of the team, we have the Garchomp with the Jolly Nature, Max Speed, Max Attack, Rough Skin ability, holding the Ground DMZ with moves of Earthquake, Rock Slide, Poison Jab, and Protect, with the statistics reading 22 games played, so it definitely came to a lot of games, 15 kills, and 10 deaths. So Garchomp is Garchomp, pretty standard, everyone knows what it does. You see it around in every VGC meta, and this one is no different, I should say. And the moves are a little bit different. Earthquake, Rock Slide, Poison Jab. You don't usually see Poison Jab on Garchomp, but this meta, it is very important. Obviously, we're missing the notable Dragon type move, like Dragon Claw, but I just felt that these moves were very important, and Protect was too good to give up because, all the Tapukokos running around, the Gyaradoses, the Salamence, the Tapu Bulus, the Tapu Leles, like the threats do not end, and Protect is very crucial. Now we are holding the Ground DMZ. If you do not know what that does, it makes your Earthquake a 180 base power physical type move called, I can't even remember the name, not gonna lie, but it is a very powerful move, and I felt like this was a better option than the Life Orb, which is on POLIWRATH. If we could have 2 Life Orbs, then I would slap the Life Orb on Garchomp, but Ground DMZ, Earthquake, does a lot of damage, especially to Pokemon like Gastrodon, who otherwise are 4-hit KO'd by your Earthquakes. Tapu Lele, Porygon takes a lot of damage from it, so that's why I went for that. Jolly Nature, you need to be able to outspeed a lot of the base 100s, as well as speed tying with other Garchomps. Rock Slide there for Pokemon like Celesteela, I can't remember right now, but just basically flinches win you games in VGC, and Poison Jab specifically for Tapu Bulu, who otherwise just eats up your hits for days, and you're not going to appreciate that Wood Hammer. Now for the stats, you see 22 games played, so it definitely came to a lot of games, 15 kills, which is nothing to laugh at, and 10 deaths as well. Garchomp just very good. Now this Garchomp definitely struggled with opposing Garchomps. Speed ties or Scarf Garchomps or Garchomps with Dragon type moves, which this one does not have, definitely pose this Pokemon a problem. But again, no team is perfect and no Pokemon is perfect, no moveset is perfect. So I felt like this was very necessary for Garchomp to have, and I found myself usually leading with this Pokemon, this and my Gastrodon. That way we have the electric immunity and the water type immunity. You do have to watch out for Porygons with Ice Beam, who do OHKO you, I believe, even without the special attack raise from download. So it's really tricky to see what you're going to do, especially because Porygons sometimes carry Ice Beam, sometimes carry Thunderbolt, sometimes carry Shadow Ball as well, so you do have to watch out for the moveset. But that is Garchomp. Not really much to say about that, pretty self-explanatory. Just want to get it in, hit that Ground DMZ Earthquake, and just body something. So that is Garchomp. Alright, and now moving on to the last member of the team, the queen that she is. Seemed pretty fitting, you know how we do around here, but I'm talking about none other than TSAREENA with the jolly nature, 20 HP, max attack, and not max speed, 236 speed, with queenly majesty as the ability, drop kick, play rough, high jump kick, that's what HJK is, and U-turn as the moves, with the statistics reading as 15 games played, 10 kills, and 10 deaths, so all even up there. Now the reason for this moveset and for this Pokemon as well is, so let me get onto the moveset first and the EVs. So that speed allows you to outspeed a max speed TAPUKOKO, obviously who's not Choice Scarf, and 20 HP, just because, you know, sometimes that bulk really does come in handy, and I felt like it was just, you know, a nice little thing to add on. But you can go max speed if you want Choice Scarf, again, like I mentioned. And the moveset of drop kick, play rough, high jump kick, user. Now very few things can take this thing on, but the ones that come to mind for me are defensive, Celesteela, and Alola Marowak. You cannot do a lot of damage back to Alola Marowak. However, you do have Drop Kick, and if you do not know what that does, it's a 70 base power grass type move, which reduces your opponent's attack every time it hits. So if they want to switch out into Alola Marowak on your prediction, or even a Gyarados, or even a Garchomp, anything like that, you go for Drop Kick, lower that attack, and you live a lot of hits that you may not otherwise. Even if you don't get that attack drop, TSAREENA is pretty bulky, 98 on both the defense and special defense, and I really liked having this Pokemon on my team. Now I really like this Pokemon. It only has 15 games played, but that's because I added it on much later to the team. Originally, I did not have TSAREENA. I had Kartana, which was suggested, you know, originally by Nips in his video. So that's why I went with Kartana. But I felt like Kartana, although it hits really hard and is really fast, it does not live any special hits, and this team definitely struggled with some special Pokemon like Tapu Lele, like Tapu Koko, like Porygon to an extent as well, and TSAREENA just helped me fit that mold very nicely. Now obviously it's not a perfect Pokemon, and it is more offensive than it is defensive, but what it does do, it does good. So Choice Scarf, very nice. You outspeed modest Tapu Koko. I'm not Tapu Koko, you outspeed Scarf, modest Tapu Lele. So that is something to consider. Obviously you don't outspeed Timid because you are a lot slower than it. And you're also not one hit KO'd by Psychic. You can go for U-turn. A lot of people don't, they expect TSAREENA to stay in and go for some move like Light Screen Reflect, which is another option that this Pokemon has. But you go for U-turn, get on out of there, and especially if they target this thing down with like a fire type move, you can switch out into your Pelipper, into your Gastrodon, which I found myself doing a lot of times, especially when it came down to Pokemon like Alola Marowak and Torkoal, as well as Garchomp, who wanted to go for Poison Jab, which you are, again, I believe, 3-hit KO'd by Poison Jab, especially when you go for Drop Kicks. You are eating those things up for days. High Jump Kick is there for Pokemon like Celesteela, which does take neutral damage. Play Rough for Salamence, for Garchomp, for all of the Fairy types and Fighting types running around, and U-turn just there for momentum. And like I said, 10 kills, 10 deaths, not too bad. Just mainly used as a pivot, as well as to reduce attacks, physical attacks, from all of the other Pokemon on the opposing side of the team with Drop Kick, and being able to allow the rest of your team to thrive and shine. So this is very much a utility Pokemon, and I very much enjoyed it having on my team, especially with Choice Scarf. Like I said, very good Pokemon. So that is TSAREENA, just rounding out a lot of the weaknesses I have on my team, eating up electric hits for days, as well as having, we have an immunity with Gastrodon, but being able to eat up grass type hits, which Gastrodon is weak to. Very good synergy, and that is TSAREENA, and I just love having this Pokemon, especially because you cannot go for priority versus it because of Queenly Majesty. So fake outs from Pokemon who like to get up Trick Room first turn, for example, that's another situation where you may find yourself in. Ice Shards from Pokemon like Mamoswine, which I haven't seen too much of. The rare Gale Wings Talonflame that wants to go for Brave Bird, and just a lot of priority. So that is TSAREENA, and yeah, I love her. Alright, so now we're going to move on to some damage calcs for the team. If you guys made it this far, you guys are the real MVPs. Let me know with a hashtag calculator in the comment section below. That's where I would love to hear. So without further ado, let's look at the damage calcs. First off, we have POLIWRATH, and with Waterfall in the Rain, you can OHKO a 0 HP Alola Ninetales, basically a max speed, max special attack offensive Ninetales. Poison Jab will not, but Waterfall does 100% minimum, and you are not OHKO'd back by Moonblast as well. Next up, we have Poison Jab, which OHKO's Tapu Bulu. Waterfall 2-hit KOs Garchomp, while you are 3-hit KO'd back by Earthquake, and that is offensive Garchomp as well. You also have have a 50% chance to OHKO TAPUKOKO with Waterfall, and Waterfall does 2-hit KO, especially defensive Celesteela, which we do see running around a lot more than defensive because of Pokemon like Tapu Lele, and because it does eat up hits from Tapu Bulu even if it's not defensive, because it does 4 times resist grass. Next up we move on to TSAREENA. So a Scarf Player Off is a 2-hit KO on Garchomp, and you are 2-hit KO'd back by Poison Jab, so you do outspeed it if it's not scarfed. Trop Kick is a 2-hit KO on TAPUKOKO, and Thunderbolt is a 3-hit KO back. Trop Kick also 2-hit KOs a 0 HP Tapu Lele, basically an offensive version, and only if it's modest can its Psychic have a 12% chance to OHKO you, so you do have to keep that in mind. And lastly, High Jump Kick has a 50% chance to OHKO Kartana, which does have 131 defense, so that is nothing to laugh at. And next up, moving on to Gastrodon, TAPUKOKO's Dazzling Gleam with the spread that I mentioned earlier on. Like I said, it was very calculated and very in-depth. So as you can see, is a 5-hit KO back from Dazzling Gleam, and Scald or EQ is a 2-hit KO on opposing TAPUKOKO's. Garchomp's Earthquake is a 4-hit KO, while Scald 3-hit KOs it back. Alola Marowak Shadowbone does 2-hit KO you, but you do not outspeed it, but Scald is an OHKO in range, so do keep that in mind. This Pokemon is not invincible by no means, as well as a modest Tapu Lele Psychic who 2-hit KOs you, and a Choice Banded Adamant Zen Headbutt, from Metagross is a 2-hit KO. Porygon 2's Ice Beam is a 5-hit KO, and your Scald back is a 5-hit KO, which is why I very much advise having Toxic, not to get into that stall war. And it's also better to get off a Toxic, so you don't have to, so you deal more damage residually with each turn, as opposed to a 6% burn damage every turn because of a burn from Scald, for example. Now on to TAPUKOKO holding a Magnet. A Thunder in the electric terrain does 84% to 100% versus a 0 HP Tapu Lele, so you do have a chance to OHKO it. 97% minimum versus a max HP, max special defensive Celesteela, and Heavy Slam does not OHKO you back. Dazzling Gleam is a 2-hit KO on opposing Garchomps, and versus a max SPDF Porygon and max HP, Thunder is a 3-hit KO. Now onto Garchomp, a Tectonic Rage, which is its Ground DMZ Earthquake, does 58 to 69% versus a max HP 0 defense Porygon 2, basically a max HP SPDF version, and 73 to 87% versus a standard Gastrodon. Poison Jab does OHKO Tapu Bulu, and EQ OHKOs TAPUKOKO, and Dazzling Gleam from a TAPUKOKO does 78% max back to you. So those is just some damage calcs I felt were very important for the team. And now moving on to the pros and cons section of the team, which every team generally has. So like I said, rain is probably the best weather out right now. Very slow, very reliable, and if it does outspeed some other weather setters, you are super effective versus them. Like I said, Gigalith and Torkoal. It is also a team that has good mix of bulk and offense. For example, you have the bulk on the Gastrodon and the Pelipper, as well as some of your offensive threats like like TSAREENA and Garchomp, who do have some good natural bulk, so you are able to live a lot of hits and deal out some damage as well. You do have 3 immunities in this team in total. You have the water immunity with the Gastrodon, as well as an electric immunity from that Pokemon and Garchomp, and a ground immunity from Pelipper. So a lot of the meta do have to think about what moves they go for, and there are a lot of mind games at play. The team is also very fast. Like I said, Swift Swim being the main threat there, with Poliwrath doubling your speed. You have a Scarfer in TSAREENA, and you do have 2 Pokemon above base 100 in your Garchomp and your TAPUKOKO. Again, this Pokemon on paper handles a lot of the meta. You do have to play around it. You know, certain mirror matches, like I said, are a little bit scary, but on paper this team does really well, and it does not rely on one option. What I mean by that is, if you do not get the rain up with Pelipper and Poliwrath, it is not the end of the world. You do have ways around it. Like I said, Scarf, TSAREENA, Gastrodon just able to eat up a lot of hits, as well as Pelipper not being relying on Poliwrath for it to do well, because Pelipper in its own right is a pretty good Pokemon, being bulky, and Scald and Hurricane, very good utility, as well as the option of Wide Guard to prevent any rock slides or earthquakes or even discharges on your opponent's side of the field. The team also does have a few bluffs in its disposal. What I mean by that is, your TAPUKOKO is not holding a Life Orb, so they may think that you're choiced some move, and they may think that you're not as much of a threat, or they may think you're Focus Sash, as well as Pelipper not showing any item, as well as Garchomp. So usually Garchomp they usually go for like Assault Vest or Choice Scarf nowadays, or even Choice Band. So the fact that they don't see your Z move, they may think you're choiced into a move, and again, some mind games and some workarounds may work in your advantage, because they think, oh, he can't switch from a move, I can switch into one of my levitating Pokemons or flying types so I can avoid the earthquake. But nope, you go for the Rock Slide and you are good to go. As well, this team is pretty hard to switch into because there are a lot of moves that are coming your way. Unfortunately, no fire type moves, but that is one of the cons of this team, which you will see later on. But it's a pretty hyper offensive team once it gets going, so it is hard to switch into. And now on to the con section of the video. Like I said, this team definitely struggles with opposing range, specifically opposing TAPUKOKOs and opposing PELIPPERs. They definitely cause a lot of mirror match, lead matchup mishaps and tricky situations, because if you have the Pelipper on your team and they have opposing Pelippers and TAPUKOKO, they're gonna be like, oh, let me just lead off with my TAPUKOKO, since he's probably gonna lead off with his Pelipper. And if they have opposing Garchomps on their team, TAPUKOKO Garchomp is probably the worst matchup, the worst lead matchup for your team, because if you lead off, you're probably gonna have to lead off with something like GASTRODON and TSAREENA. Again, it's not the best, but just opposing mirror matches are very difficult to deal with, as including TAPUKOKO, Garchomp, and Tapu Bulu are threats to this team. Tapu Bulu is very scary, because even though Pelipper is neutral to it and max defense, max HP, a Wood Hammer or even a Grassy MZ, Bloom Doom in the grassy terrain is going to wreck your life. And like I said, we don't have any fire types on the team, but since we have Rain, I felt like it would be a little bit counterproductive, but you do have to watch out for those Pokemon. I did say that this team is not a one-trick pony, but TAPUKOKO's Thunder is reliant on Pelipper's Rain most of the time. Like I said, it is 70% accurate, and this is the game of Pokemon, but 100% Thunder is always a nice thing to have. So once you don't have the Rain up, it can be a little bit tricky, but Pelipper does have the Damprock, like I said, 8 turns of Rain, as well as the ability to switch in and switch on out, as well as a lot of Pelippers on the opposing side of the team. So Thunder is usually a good option to go with, and Storm Drain on Gastrodon, let me just say, can be very frustrating. Maybe it's just because I'm a bad player, but you do have to consider when you're going for your own water type moves if you have Gastrodon on your side of the field, because that bitch is gonna soak that thing up, and your Scalds or your Waterfalls, whatever they are gonna be useless. So you do have to watch for that. You also do have no single target ground type move except for the Groundium Z type move on Garchomp, and the reason why I say that is important is because if you have a Pokemon on your side of the field, for example, if you have TAPUKOKO and you have POLIWRATH and you want to go for Earthquake Waterfall, if you have Garchomp and POLIWRATH and you want to go for Earthquake Waterfall, you're going to be dealing damage to your POLIWRATH, so no single type ground type move is a little bit of an issue, especially because it is reduced in spread damage as well as Wide Guard being a thing. But I guess there is no really good ground type move other than Bone Meringue on Alola Marowak and High Horsepower on Mudsdale, but we have neither of those on the team, so you do have to watch out for that, as well as 4 move slot syndrome being an issue on Gastrodon, TAPUKOKO, and POLIWRATH. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of moves that you may want to switch out, but you can't really, because you need the coverage or you need the options. For example, Gastrodon could go with Protect, TAPUKOKO would like Thunderbolt instead of Thunder, but it needs Taunt and Protect in my opinion, and POLIWRATH would love to have maybe an option of Belly Drum or even Substitute or even Encore, but those 3 moves as well as the combination with Protect is just really nice. So that is what I mean by 4 move slot syndrome. And lastly, we have no setup on the team, we have no Nasty Plot, Agility, or Swords Dance, but I felt like this team was pretty much hyper offense and you really relied on making the most of your turns, and that's why I felt like Swords Dance or some setup move was not an option. But if you want to go for Swords Dance on Garchomp, feel free to, but that is just my opinion. And now you see a section called suggestions. I left it blank because if there's anything you guys want to let me know, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I very much want to hear back from you guys. Like I said, this is a very long, in-depth video, and I feel like the people who watch this are going to be interested. So let me know what you think, any options you want me to try out. And moving on to that is going to be the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, like I said, a like would be much appreciated, as well as the subscription, as well as any feedback. Until next time, let me know any teams you want to see me use. It's been your boy MegaLugia here checking out. Peace.